Welcome to the podcast. So, Bob has been a client of mine for 12 or 13 years, and we're going to mainly talk about fasting and also his journey with the whole health and fitness thing. So, Bob, you can start. Explain to the audience or the viewers how we met.
Well, Kyle and I met, like you said, about maybe 12 or 13 years ago, give or take. Back then I was, first off, I'm 60 years old now. I'm at roughly 235 pounds today. When we met, I was peaking 250, 255, 48-inch waistline, almost 50 actually, because I couldn't find fat pants fast enough to keep pants on. But anyway, so I was definitely not very healthy. My muscle had pretty much just gone to goo. I mean, you'd grab my arm and there was nothing there. My legs used to be strong. I used to row in high school, so I was pretty fit back then. But I had no hardness in my legs anymore. Of course, health issues spiraling out of control, and I had to do something. So long story short, I started checking out some gyms. Went to this gym in one community here on the island, saw this crazy guy in the gym who was always there. It seemed like he had nothing better to do than work out in that gym. So he let me into the one gym because the door was locked, and so I went in and we had a brief conversation. I was looking for somebody to work with me as a trainer because I didn't really know what I was doing anymore, and I personally needed somebody that would take the load off me for figuring out what to do, how to do it, and just encourage me to keep going. The other thing is if I'm putting money into it, then I'm either going to throw my money away or at least I have that to keep going to. But I guess the big factor was having somebody to work with that knew what they were doing, that I could go. I didn't have to worry about the workouts. I'd come in and this is what we're doing today, yada, yada, yada. So that's how we met. And then from there we started working out. If I speed forward to today, I'm 235 pounds. I'm at a 38-inch waistline. Relatively I'm I guess as healthy as I can be. There are issues with working out. Like, I'm not working out to be ripped as much as I would like to. I don't see myself getting that way. But I do see myself staying physically fit, strong. I've got hardness. My legs are hard again. My arms are hard again. I don't have an issue going out and working hard. It's relatively comfortable. But that being said, it's all combined with proper exercise and proper eating.
Let's go back to when we first met. How much did you weigh then?
I was roughly 250, 255.
When we first met?
Yeah.
Like back in 2000?
Yeah.
250?
Yeah.
We were over 300, weren't we?
Oh, no, yeah, sorry, 350.
Yeah, 350.
That's right.
And you're 235
235,
now. So
yeah.
You've lost over 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. And give us a picture of your ability in the gym when you first came in. What you felt like, what you looked like.
Well, I had no ability. I couldn't even do a squat. In order to do a squat, I'd be doing chair squats. I'd have to sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up. That was interesting because that was my first year, and we were working out 3 times a week.
Yeah.
We were doing 3 days a week.
I think only half-an-hour sessions as well.
Yeah, they turned into whatever sessions because we were in there playing around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't even do a squat, so I couldn't lift much. I even tried to overexert myself on the leg press that day and threw my back way out of whack.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I couldn't do a squat. I'd have to stand up, sit down in a chair, stand up. If I was standing in front of in the mirror, all you'd have to do is picture a ginormous pear. Because that's how I looked. I just looked like this ginormous friggin' pear. It was gross. So over the course of that first year, and it was actually only took about 2 or 3 months, after 2 or 3 months, I started to feel much better. I mean, I wasn't losing a lot of weight at the moment, but I was definitely starting to feel better. I had more energy. I had the ability to do things. I have 2 small children, and all of a sudden I can run around with my kids outside again. And that was huge. So that was all the motivational, that was the motivation that I needed to just keep going. And then from there, you're looking at, so, I mean, we're working out, we've got that down pat, so now it's, okay, how are we eating? And we start looking at how we're eating. Before I met Kyle, and in that process up to meeting Kyle and start working out with him, you're looking at like 3 store-bought pizzas a day on the couch, you're looking at chips, you're looking at tons of ice cream, of course, everything processed, sugar galore, pop.
Tell me about your pop and orange diet.
Oh, well, the first thing that I eliminated, because this whole process has gone in stages. So the first thing I eliminated was the pop and the juice and all that stuff. And that year I dropped 20 pounds, just getting rid of the pop. The diet started to change drastically too. I wouldn't say to more, well, just first off, I'll say right now, everything is whole foods. I have no sugar, no processed oils. Anything processed is basically eliminated. I can't help it when it comes to cheeses. I can't help it, depending on the type of cheese, but when it comes to some dairy products, needed dairy products, I can't help but go to the store. Otherwise, everything's got to be whole food, preferably homegrown, not at the grocery store. You're looking at a death pit in there as far as I'm concerned.
I want to just go back to when I first met you. What I remember was when Bob came in, if we had to lay down for the bench press, for a sit-up or anything like that, I would have to basically deadlift him up or he couldn't get up. If I left him there, he wasn't able to get up by himself. So that's the state he was in when I first met him. Also, tremendous back pain, always complained about your back pain. For probably for maybe a year or 2. It's been a long time since, so I can't really remember, but back pain was a huge thing. I haven't really heard you complain about back pain for many, many years.
Yeah, well, the last year, the back pain has been virtually eliminated. I know there's still a problem there, but I don't have the pain that I used to, and that's been gradual over the whole time disappearing.
So I want to focus on the fasting bit now. So what kind of diets have we tried over the 12 years?
Okay, well, the first change that we made, like we said, was the pop and the juice. That was eliminated. And then we started going, okay, we got to eliminate more of the sugars. So it was getting rid of the sugars. We're starting to eat better. We're not eating as best as we could. We're probably still overeating. But we get to this point where you start to see that each little step that you make makes a change in your metabolism and you start to feel different. Eliminating sugar was hard, but it was huge. You got to come up with things to replace, at least I did. Maybe you don't, but I had to come up with things to replace what I was losing. So we went to more natural things. We were doing a lot of erythritol and stevia is the good one, I forget. But anyway, so stevia. There's a bunch of stuff. The sugar or the alcohol sugars. So we were trying each. We were trying each of those. So anyways, we eliminated sugar. Then the next step was bread, because bread's. I mean, how nice is it to grab a big, nice, fresh, crunchy loaf of bread and just smother it with butter and eat it? It's fantastic.
It's addictive.
But the processed flour is a killer. I mean, that goes in your system, turns to sugar, boom, your body doesn't use it, it stores it, say hello to fat again, right? So we eliminated bread, like bread got way down on the scale. You'd still be eating a hamburger with a bun, you'd still have a sandwich, but the majority of the bread use was taken out. And then from there, of course, Kyle and I are dickering back and forth as to what to eat, how much to eat. I'd come in and tell him I ate this great big hamburger, and he'd go, what'd you have on the hamburger? What about the bun? Yada, yada, yada. So, but with each step we took, the health issues changed. And so that, again, like I say, is a motivation just to keep trying new things and doing something different. And of course, in this time frame, my weight's coming down, coming down, coming down, and coming down. And so again, it was motivation to keep going. So let's kind of go to where all of a sudden we get to this point where, okay, we got to do something serious here. I tried counting calories. I tried weighting food. Yes, I saw a quick, brief benefit, but I don't know. I'm just not either. I guess you could say, all in all, I'm not willing to do that. Mm-hmm. That's the simplest way.
You hated it.
I hated it.
It wasn't for you.
It wasn't what I wanted to do. So I guess what we did is we started, okay, we're going to eliminate bread totally. So if you eliminate bread, what do you replace it with? You have to look for those healthier alternatives. And there's lots of them out there. I mean, if you can cook or even a little bit follow a recipe, then you can make a good healthy bread. It doesn't have flour in it. You can start looking at keto breads and stuff like that. I mean, I probably cooked a half a dozen different recipes until I found a bread that I enjoyed. And there's breads out there that you can make that are enjoyable. So we replaced that. And then, of course, then somewhere in there is when the fasting really kicked in, because Kyle had said to me, let's fast for 72 hours. And I'm thinking, oh, you're crazy, right? I said, I'm not going to do this.
So I want to talk about that. So we did try many different, implementations, counting calories, doing this and that, and they did work to some degree, but we didn't really find like the sweet spot in getting you to really where you wanted to go.
Yeah.
And previously, like, I've been in the fitness field for 18 years, and the first 7 years I thought fasting was the dumbest thing you could ever do. I thought you'd lose muscle, you'd lose your progress and everything. But over the last decade, I personally have been intermittent fasting, and I believe that's the best, easiest diet for the majority of people. So when I started, I think I came across a YouTube channel, and this one guy was talking about, like 72-hour fast for people who wanted to lose a good amount of fat. And I suggested it to Bob, and what was your initial reaction?
I was totally turned off by it.
Yeah, he thought it was the worst idea ever. And then so this was around maybe December or November of 3 years ago. I took a trip to Cuba, and Bob messages me and he says, hey, let's do that fast together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I was gone, so he ended up doing it himself. And how long was your first fast 3 years ago?
Okay, well, the first fast was supposed to be 72 hours. So, and Kyle was on vacation. I figure, okay, for the first 72 hours, I'll do it. And people can say, well, I didn't do it because he was gone, yada, yada, yada. But I did. I did 72 hours. But here's the thing. When I decided to do it, I put it in my head. So I had to get some things straight in my head. And that was what was about to happen. And so I went into it looking at it like, okay, I'm going to pretend you're stuck on a deserted island. You got no food. Okay. Now you're going to get to experience what you're going to go through. And I like new experiences, so it was kind of easy for me. I had a place to go. I have a hunt camp out on a farm that we own, and I pulled anything edible out of it. And so I went out there. So started the 72 hours. Yes, your stomach is squinching up. There's lots of things going on, especially that first one. I got to add too. You got to remember, leading up to this, I had changed how I was eating. There was no sugar, there was no bread, there was a lot of things eliminated out of my system. So when you get into this stuff about fasting and getting sick, and if you're doing something keto, you get the keto sickness, it all has to do with what you're eating prior to when you start. Okay, so if you're eating clean for the first couple of months, a lot of these negative side effects you're not going to feel. So anyways, I'm into this first 72 hours. I made it past the first 72 hours, and I felt so good that I said, okay, I'm going to go until Kyle comes back. And I basically went 10 days with no food, and I felt fantastic. You're peeing a lot. Number 2 kind of went off to the wayside, but I felt really good. And so I just kept going. So 10 days, Kyle came back, I stopped, and then it was like, of course I followed my weight. I was looking at ketone levels in my blood and all these things, and it was a really good experience.
So yeah, so that was actually 4 years ago now that I remember. And then let the audience know what you did the next year, a year after, on New Year's.
Okay, well, just before we do that, that year that I did the 10-day fast, I think it was a month and a half later that I did I did another 10 days, because I did 3 10-day fasts that year, and one week fast, because I was just so into it. Like, it just got me.
It was almost addictive, right? Because you felt
I felt so good.
So maybe just talk a little bit about how you felt mentally and physically. What did it do to your body, weight loss and stuff like that?
Well, of course, the weight came off really quick. Like, you lost some decent weight. You got to remember, when you're doing this, usually your first 5 to 10 pounds is going to be liquid, like water weight, whatever. That you can count on gaining back right away. But anything past that is good, solid fat loss. So each time I did the fast, there was a different experience, because the second 10-day fast that I did, it was like euphoric. I mean, it was just fantastic. But then seeing what my body was doing, you got to remember, your body is storing up. If you're eating processed oils, which is the big one in there, next to sugar, those processed oils, your body doesn't know what to do with them, because it doesn't recognize them as food. So your vegetable oil, your soya oil, what's the other one? Not sunflower. You got, anyways.
Canola.
That's it, canola. You got 3 major ones out there that are totally horrible for your body. Where does that go? That all goes into fat, okay? And it's stored there. If it stays there long enough, it ferments. It starts to cause all kinds of ailments, skin rashes, everything. Of course, the companies aren't going to tell you that. But anyways, long story short, the fasting brought all of that out of me. Okay, so all I can tell you is think of the grossest shit in your head, and that's what was coming out of me. That was the 10 days, and it was every day. So all of a sudden, now I'm going to the bathroom every day for 10 days. And then the second one, it was just because, okay, I got to keep this going. But here's the thing, autophagy hits in. Autophagy kicks in after roughly 72 hours. Depending on your size and how big you are, it can be different for all of us. You lose everything in your stomach after the first, say, 8 hours. The first 24 hours, your stomach is pretty much empty. 72 hours, autophagy kicks in. So what happens? You've got your immune system going ballistic. It's going all out to keep you alive, because all of a sudden there's no food there. So what happens? All the dead and negative blood cells in your body are being burned off for energy. Of course, your fat is being burned off for energy. Like if you have inflammation and pain and everything like that, all of a sudden your body's attacking those areas to clean them up, because it's going into survival mode. It's trying to put you in a position where you're as healthy as possible to be able to keep going. I personally, I could be wrong, but I found that it helped with my hair, because, I mean, my dad lost all his hair, and I thought I was losing my hair too, but it seems like I've leveled off and whatnot. I want to interject too quickly, if you're diabetic, you got to be careful. You can't just jump into this outside of a doctor. However, if you can find a decent doctor, you can cure diabetes with fasting.
I do believe that. I have had clients who, when they started doing a little bit more exercising, eating a little bit healthier, I have had clients who have completely got off their insulin from that.
Oh, really? Okay.
And fasting is a protocol, to become healthier for sure. I did want to talk about autophagy though. So if you don't know what autophagy is, it's essentially like garbage men going into your cells and taking out the dead cells, the ones that aren't working as well. New cells can grow. There's other ways to do that, exercise, sauna, stuff like that. But if autophagy is really your body just cleaning out the things that aren't up to code, so to speak. Describe how your body felt, because you had a lot of inflammation before you're doing the fasting. How did that make your body just feel?
Okay, well, let me tell you this. I had moles on the top of my head. One of them was pea-size almost. I was actually going to cut it off with a knife because I didn't like it. But there was 2 spots on my head that had moles on them. I had a huge lump in my back. Like if you rub my skin on the back, there was this big lump in there. The discoloration around my ankles, like my ankles were going, like they were spotty at first, but then they were going more of a reddish, I won't say purple, but more red spots were filling up. So both of my feet around the ankle area was covered all in this red rash. I had a big black spot on the side of my nose. For all I know, it was cancer. But anyways, I had this big black spot on the side of my nose, and my arthritis. I have arthritis, and I mean, it gets really hard to do shit with your hands. When you can actually move your knuckles and you can feel the bones rubbing on bone, it hurts. And so I had arthritis. All of this is gone. The spots on my head shrunk to the point, I mean, you can still feel it. There's still a little spot there, like you know where it was. But it's gone. Oh, skin tags disappeared.
Yeah. So essentially your body was healing as you were fasting.
Flushed everything away.
Instead of putting the energy into digestion, it was putting it into healing your body.
Yeah.
And those were over the 10-day fast, right?
That's right.
So let's now talk about your 30-day fast. 42-day fast.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. What made you do it and your experience throughout it. Well, Bob is also on his 10-day fast right now, so he hasn't eaten in 2023 yet.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your first really long fast.
Okay, I did 42 days. I was having so much fun with it. A little bit of a challenge in there with my sister, and I found out that my sister was actually doing a liquid fast, not a hard fast. But anyway.
I want to speak on that. So Bob comes to the gym, and he's over the holidays. You said that your sister did a 30-day fast, and Bob had already done 10-day fasts, which I thought were pretty like long and extreme and challenging. So when he told me his sister did it, I had some questions because not a lot of people can manage to do 30 days. So I was really questioning it. Turns out she did juice fasts, right? Yeah. So she was still eating, but just juices.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, so you started your 30-day fast, and you can continue with that.
Yeah, it wasn't a 30-day fast.
Oh, sorry, 42
days. 42. So everybody wants to know why 42, I'm going to tell you. I figured if Jesus could do 40, I would go 42. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I wasn't mocking, but I was determined to go 42. But for me now, the whole thing was, okay, it's fairly good. It's fairly, I felt it was fairly easy. But it was all about weight loss. I had to get down to 230. Okay, I want to get down to 230.
And what did you start at?
I think back then I was around the 250. Or maybe 265. I don't remember.
From what I remember, your first really long fast, I think it was like 275 at least. And then you got down to 235. So over that 40 days.
It might have. Oh, I didn't get to 235 until the second, like I did that 42-day fast. I might have done a couple. Well, after that I was eating intermittently. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't during that fast that I got to where I was going.
Mm-hmm. We didn't really keep stringent records, but I do believe you were losing about a pound a day.
Oh, I was losing a pound a day, yeah.
So approximately 40 pounds.
Oh yeah, 40 pounds. We lost 40 pounds on that one.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So anyway, so I decided to do 42. First 20 days were easy. The second 20 days after that was brutal. Like it was a mental game. I was watching food videos left and right. I'm watching people eat and everything else, and it's just driving me insane. The big key is staying as busy as possible. You got to be doing something. Mm-hmm. If you're not doing anything and you're just sitting around, boy, you're in trouble. But anyway, so staying busy. I had lots to do. I got a farm that I have to work and other things, and so that fast, I would never do it again.
Yeah.
Like that was brutal.
Yeah.
But it took a big chunk of weight off. It really brought me right down to that reachable goal that I was shooting for.
I think one thing that encouraged you is I remember showing you that a guy did a full year fast.
Oh yeah,
right. And he lost like hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
And I think that probably gave you some encouragement to
definitely.
You can go long term.
Yeah.
Which I'm not advising anyone to do. Definitely talk with your doctor. We're just telling you Bob's experience.
Yeah. Well, I even had a doctor. Like I had one doctor that heard what I was doing, and he wanted to monitor me. And I asked him. One of the things they wanted to do was put me into an MRI or whatever. I forget what they wanted to put me through, but whatever they wanted to put me through was radioactive, right? So I said, does it have any radiation in it in these tests? And they said yes. And I said, well, I'm not interested because I'm not going to start putting shit into my body that I know hurts it when I'm trying to clean it up. So I turned the doctors away. But that fast was brutal. It was very hard.
After the 20 days, it started to get hard.
Yeah,
how were the first 10 and then the next 10?
The first 10 were fine because I was used to 10. Yeah. So the next 10 was a new experience. So you're counting each day, you're staying busy, and it went by. But come day 20, it's really starting to play with your head.
Talk about how you introduced like the salt water and how that made you feel. Because I remember that really helped you.
Oh, well, the salt water was into effect from day one. Like the very first fast we did, I was doing a little bit of salt. I was doing a little bit of this and that, you know. There was some vitamins, magnesium, and what did I tell you I was doing?
Because you still need electrolytes to hydrate. Yeah. Hydration isn't just water, it's water plus electrolytes. Especially when you're not eating any other food, you need to get those electrolytes in to make you feel good and to hydrate you. So they are extremely important when you're fasting.
Yeah, and of course I started drinking coffee. Like I found out that you could drink black coffee. Yeah. To an extent, you don't want to overdo it, but anyways, and then like carbonated water is good.
And the black coffee helped curb your appetite a little bit.
Oh yeah, the first time I started drinking black coffee, I was like, this is fantastic.
So would you recommend people trying that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So black coffee, electrolytes in their water.
Yeah. Anything, just look at it like this, is you can drink anything you want as long as it doesn't spike the insulin in your blood.
Yeah.
The moment you eat something that spikes insulin, then you're basically technically broken that fast. Yeah. So I was on search for teas that weren't going to do that. Black coffee doesn't do that. Carbonated water doesn't do that. As long as it doesn't have sugar in it, sweeteners in it, and stuff like that, they're good to go. Yeah. So.
Okay, and then the next year you did another 30-day fast.
No, after the 40-day, the following. Well, let me back up for a minute. I got into this habit. I'm doing these fasts now, January 1st. Okay, so I hit the new year. The first thing I do is this fast, January 1st. It kind of reboots my system for the year. This year I have another one planned in July because I'm going away for a weekend, and I'm probably going to end up eating some stuff I probably don't want to eat, but I'm going to eat because it's yummy. So anyways, I got another one. I got basically a 1 week fast planned in July, and that's 1 week just before the weekend I go. But anyway, so I start in January. I do them in January. It reboots my system, and I'm fired up for the gym and everything else. Where was I headed?
So over the last 4 years, the first year you did 3 10-day fasts.
3 10-day fasts.
The next day you did a
42-day fast.
And then the next year,
I did a 20-day.
You did a 20-day. And this year you're doing
10.
You're currently on 10. Okay, so
I'm currently on 10.
So let the viewers know how you're going to break your fast and the experience you have with like your first couple meals, the first couple days after a long fast.
Okay. Breaking the fast, when I first did it, I was really strict about it. That first day was nothing but bone broth. So a good like homemade bone broth, either beef bones, you boil them down, chicken bones, whatever, take your pick. And then the following day you would break into something, as long as it's soft. You don't want to eat hard vegetables, those will kill you, literally. You want to eat soft, like a hard-boiled egg, a scrambled egg, maybe one piece of toast. Stay away from white bread. Something soft, or a nice soup. I like soups.
So the first day, mainly liquids?
Yeah, like when I come off of this fast, I've got a turkey soup that we made from the Christmas turkey leftovers. I got a nice turkey soup. I've got, we have our own chickens, so we got our own eggs. I've got some nice pickled eggs set aside. I have lots, but it's lots of soft things. So the first day, and I was going to try and go till the end of the week. I've decided now that tomorrow I'm going to come into the gym, do my workout. I'm going to go home, I'm pushing for 5 o'clock, so if I get to 5 o'clock, at 5 o'clock I will eat. I'm giving myself a 2-hour eating window, and then I'm going into intermittent fasting.
Okay, so when you're not doing the long fasts, what does a typical day look for you throughout the year normally?
On intermittent or?
Yeah, intermittent fast. Like, describe how you eat when you're not doing a prolonged fast for the rest of the year.
If I was to eat the way you're supposed to, and I was intermittent fasting, let's just take one meal a day. So every day I would eat between 5 and 6 o'clock and nothing else. If I ate properly, my weight would come off like 90. Mm-hmm. And you feel good. I mean, personally, I feel good. Maybe some people can't do it. I think it has a lot to do with how you're eating prior to you doing something like that. But if you're eating clean, whole foods,
fruits, vegetables,
yeah,
foods that start with,
yeah,
just have one word: strawberries, meat, stuff like that.
Yeah, then you should have no problem kicking into an intermittent fasting process. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go 24 hours. You can eat 2 meals a day instead of 1. I prefer 1 because I can go, once I start working, the blood starts flowing. Because I'm fat adapted, which means my body is used to burning fat as opposed to carbs. Once my body kicks into that, okay, we're burning fat mode, I feel fantastic. Mm-hmm. I got lots of energy. I can make it through the day. As long as I stay busy, if I stop and sit down, that changes what your body's doing and it changes how you feel. So I can eat 1 meal a day, but I'd eat, I eat lots of meat. My first move was keto diet kind of thing, or keto eating. So I was eating lots of fat. Like if it had fat on it, I wanted it. I started eating lots of bacon. I started making my own pork rinds at home for snacks. Lots of steak, lots of fish. Cut out anything white, like anything that basically didn't give me fat or high protein, I cut out. Mm-hmm. And that year was really good because I saw my weight going down. It was going down. But see, I think this happens to everybody. We all have a tendency that we see things good happening, so we slack off and we go back into some of our old ways, mm-hmm. and then that changes. So for me, I started eating more. Instead of eating, a small, like a decent bowl of soup, I'd eat the whole pot. Okay? Because it's good soup, right? Or good chili, or whatever it is you're making. So that changed, that of course, that changed everything, but I stayed stable. I stayed weight stable. So once I saw that at least I was stable, I just kept eating that way because it was enjoyable for me. And that year that I looked at the diet, not the word diet, but the lifestyle change of keto, mm-hmm. it worked really good. Okay. And then, so that went on that year, and then of course we come into this year, and it stayed that way until I stopped coming to the gym for the summer.
Mm-hmm. So when you're not doing the long fasts, you're doing the OMAD, or 1 meal a day.
Yeah.
And that works for you.
That's right.
Okay. Let's say, can you give some tips to the viewers if they want to maybe do a longer fast because they do have health issues or they want to lose a lot of weight? What would you suggest to a friend who wanted to start?
Well, if you want to start, I mean, it's a good thing. It really is. There's going to be a lot of factors come into play. Your personal situation. Do you have people at home? Are you around a ton of food? I'm to the point now where I can once I get into the fast and get into autophagy, I can handle all the food around me I want. I mm-hmm. just look at it and ignore it. But so there's a big mental game. I would also tell you that once you get into autophagy and ketosis, your stomach's going to be tightening. There's things going to be going on, but it's not like, I got to eat, I'm hungry. It's mental. You're programmed to think you got to eat 3 times a day.
Exactly, because when you're eating carbohydrates, your blood sugar rises and then it falls below
Yeah.
baseline, and then you want to eat again. So if you're eating a lot of sweets or a lot of high sugar items, here's your baseline, insulin spikes, now it drops, and you're hungrier again.
That's right.
So with ketosis, which uses ketones as energy instead
Yeah.
of glucose
Yeah.
when you're eating carbs, your blood sugar stays very level, so you don't get hungry.
Yeah.
Because hunger is really, a lot of the times, it's just that spike in insulin. So ketosis is also great for your brain because your brain prefers ketones
Yeah.
to run on, which makes you think very clearly.
Yeah.
You can concentrate well, you can work well, you can stay very focused. So a lot of people in Silicon Valley, for instance, they love fasting because it keeps you, it keeps you on your task. So that's
Yeah.
why ketones are so amazing for that. Only drawback is if you're an athlete, particularly like a power athlete or a high intense athlete, you need the glucose. So long fasts are going to kill your progress in the gym or your performance. But for a long distance athlete, you could try, a ketogenic diet or, some type of fasting.
Yeah, if you have if you have body mass, and I'm not talking muscle mass, if you have fat and you're heavy, like I wouldn't recommend you do it. I would say
a long fast.
Yeah, it's crazy for you to do it because there's nothing there.
Exactly.
But if you have weight that you want to start to lose, you got to remember the key factor in keeping all of this is what you're eating. So if you're going to do a fast, my first recommendation would be that you have to clean up how you're eating before you start. If you can't clean up how you're eating before you start, then two things are going to happen. Number one, you're going to have a real hard time during the fast, and when the fast is over, you're going to gain everything back and some. Okay, that's what people say. Well, you fast, you're going to gain it all back. I agree to a point. If you're fasting and you're eating properly, and you come off and you're eating properly, okay, you won't gain it all back. You're going to gain anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds back, but after that, you can remain stable.
It is possible to go from like the standard American diet right to fasting, but the worse you're eating beforehand, the harder it's going to be when you start to fast.
That's right.
So if you could kind of clean the diet up, cut the sugars out, the calorie drinks, just the sweets and desserts and stuff, the easier it's going to be for your body to adapt into ketosis.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is a tip. And also getting an electrolyte supplement that you can add to your water while you're fasting. Salt actually suppresses a hunger hormone, ghrelin, so it actually makes it easier to keep your hunger down with the electrolytes and the salt. And the black coffee as well, and just staying busy.
Yeah.
So you'd recommend all those?
Oh, yeah. I guess the one thing in all of that I would make a real, you really got to watch is the salt. And I'm sure for everybody it's going to be different because your body types are different, your sizes are different, how you process these things are different. For me, it was a pinch. Like I grabbed a pinch, just like we're talking, a little pinch of salt in between my fingers in the cup. And I experimented with it because when I started the 42-day fast, I was doing salt every day, and I was actually taking a bigger pinch because I knew I was going into this long term. Plus, I was taking a whole row of vitamins.
Yeah.
All right. And I think it was around day 7, I was starting to twitch. My muscles in my neck were twitching. My muscles in the side of my head were twitching. So I'm doing all this twitching. I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? I ended up going to the to emergency to have all my blood work checked out. And they came back and told me I was fine. Of course, they were upset that I wasn't eating. Don't get me in the medical field; they're fucked. But anyways, I was fine. So I went home and I had to ask myself, well, what am I doing different now than I was doing before? So I cut out all of the vitamins except the 2 that I need for magnesium is one of them. I told you what.
Potassium?
Magnesium and potassium. Yeah. So I was taking magnesium and potassium and salt.
Yeah.
And so I went back to those 3. And I went back to 1 little pinch of salt in a glass of water a day. And I would do the salt first thing in the morning, and then I would do the magnesium and the potassium later on in the day because fasting is going to affect your sleep habit real bad. And I found that the potassium and the magnesium If I was taking those at the right time of day, that would allow me to go lay down at night. I'd be listening to something on the radio or whatever it was, and then I would gradually fall asleep, and I would be able to have a good night's sleep. Because my first fast I did, you'd sit there all night with your eyes just blares right open. I can't, what the hell? Anyways, so yeah, go easy on the salt, and it might be different. I actually watched a YouTube video the other day. This guy took he was fasting, he took a tablespoon full, literally a spoonful of salt, and took it. There is no way that guy can do that, all right, and have a healthy experience. There's just no way. It's impossible. So watch your salt. If you start to feel things going wrong with your body, cut back on what you're doing. If you really think something's going bad, go to the hospital and have your system checked out. One thing you should have is have a blood pressure monitor. I've got one of those, so I'm watching my blood pressure and stuff.
How much water would you drink a day? Or do you drink a day on your fasts?
Well, like right now, I'll have a couple cups of coffee. I've cut back on the coffee because the coffee and the caffeine will keep you awake. So I'm doing about 2 cups of coffee. First thing in the morning, I'm basically a bottle of water or a full cup of water. And then I sip water all day long. I have cans of carbonated water that I'll pull one of those out. It's nice because the carbonation, when you get that in your stomach, it kind of bubbles away or whatever, and that kind of gives you this fuller feeling. This time around too, I'm doing fresh lemon. Now, to the best of my knowledge and from everything I've heard, the lemon does not induce an insulin response.
Very low sugar.
Yeah, so
almost no sugar.
Yeah, so I made lemon water, and all I did was cut up my lemon, squish it a little bit, throw it in a big tumbler, and then fill it up with water. So I've been drinking lemon water. Apparently, there's some information out there that the lemon water will remove the enamel on your teeth, so maybe drink it through a straw. Yeah,
through a straw, or brush your teeth afterwards. I wouldn't sip it throughout the day and not brush your teeth because it can be very acidic on your teeth.
Okay.
Also, let's finish with this. Are you still exercising when you're fasting? And how does that change?
Oh, I exercise while I'm fasting. Obviously, the exercises change. I go in. The whole thing for the exercising while fasting is you got to keep your body moving. Otherwise, you will lose muscle mass, and you will lose a little bit, but you're going to lose muscle mass. So I come into the gym, you keep moving, it gets the blood flowing, you feel good, it gets your body burning those ketones, you feel good, keeps you limber, you just feel a whole lot better. So I tried coming in and doing regular workouts, and I just couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, just impossible.
Yeah, so if you're going to the gym and you're fasting, keep going to the gym. Go in and ride the bike for 10 minutes, do some stretching, do whatever, because I guarantee you anything that you do while you're there that's not kind of making you feel like you want to throw up.
So we'll keep it low intensity, have lots of rest, use a lot lower weight, be very careful, but you can still do it, and it makes you feel better, right?
Every definitely,
time, when you come into the gym, sometimes you kind of feel maybe a little bit low energy when you're fasting, the long fasts, but then when you leave, you're like, wow, I feel amazing. So exercise, you could even just walk if you're not into the gym right now. But exercise usually makes you feel a lot better, right?
Yeah,
so keep that up for sure. It will also help burn a lot of fat.
Yeah. And you will lose weight at it. It's not for everybody. It's for me. If you're willing to look at eating, don't look at dieting. That's going to kill you and disappoint you.
Short-term diets.
Yeah, you've got to look at how you eat, what you're eating. Because it's easy to change what you're eating and make it part of your lifestyle. It's easy to get rid of sugar. It's easy to get rid of all of that poisonous crap out there and give yourself a healthy alternative. I feel sorry. I mean, if you don't know how to do a lot of cooking, learn. If you know how to cook and you enjoy cooking, you can change your eating habits like that.
For sure.
And you can go super healthy. So it's not for everybody. I mean, you really got to, your situation, but if you can do it, if you got some serious health problems, it'll work. I go into the doctor's office. I don't go to the doctor's office anymore. But when I used to go to the doctor's office and I walked in there and that room would have a dozen people sitting in there with skin rashes and all hunched over, older people like myself, and they're all raggedy and they're coughing and they're sick. I'm willing to bet you that 75% of the people sitting in that room could cure their problems just by the food they eat alone.
I totally agree.
And I tried to share that with my doctor one time, and he exploded. He went nuts.
Yeah, that's pretty common.
And
so, I'd like to thank you.
Thank you.
For the first podcast.
I'm willing to do another one, I guess.
So this is primarily just about Bob's journey. You know, we're not promoting anything. We're just giving you information so you can talk to your doctor and make your own choice. Bob started with me at 350 pounds. He's now 235.
Yeah.
There's been lots of ups and downs. Everyone has their own journey, but you have to experiment and you have to try new things to get where you want to go.
That's right.
Correct?
Yeah, and do the research. Like, if you're going to try something, if you're going to try this, do the research, because
there's lots of information out there.
Before I did that first 72 hours, I read everything. I searched out everything I could possibly read, and the more I saw that there was a lot of benefits here. Same as your ice swimming.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of actually ice swimming and proper fasting go hand in hand, cold and
Agreed.
Fire. So
Agreed.
I just can't bring myself to jump into ice.
That's the next thing in Bob's journey. We're going to get him to do a polar dip. All right, thanks, Bob. Appreciate you very much.
Right on.
All right, that's it. That was good.